Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to episode 5 of my programming series. Before we get into code, I'm going to address some comments I've received on my previous videos. So there's one comment talking about me using an initialization list instead of the this pointer. Now I'm completely aware of the initialization list. I think it's actually better to use it in this case, and the reason I didn't cover it in this video. So basically this is all correct. I addressed this in the comments, but I want to address this in the video just so everyone can see the reasoning behind it, because not everyone reads comments. Basically, I can't cover everything in these videos. These videos are short and concise for a reason, so you guys can reuse them over and over without wasting too much time, not going through a 2-3 hour YouTube video. And I'm trying to put as much information as possible in these videos. And, you know, in C++, there's a million ways to do things. Everyone knows this. And I can't go through those million things. I have to go through things that are going to be relevant. So like I said, to answer the question, yes, you would use a constructor initialization list all of the time usually for this, because it's kind of common practice. However, I decided against it because at this point in our programming, I'm assuming that you only have a foundational understanding of C++. I think initialization lists come later in textbooks. They're not taught in the early sections of the textbook. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of move away from that and use the this keyword because we're going to be covering that more in depth. With that being said, in this video, we're going to be creating a separate class to actually test our student class. And the way we're going to do it is actually learning about a conditional operator. Okay, so I created driver.cpp and I'm going to fill in some things. So in our include statement, we want to include student.h with the quotes because that is a header we've created in our project directory. Okay guys, so I've kind of prettied up our driver class here. We have a int main and a bool test student and its prototype. So what we're going to do here is we're going to declare two student objects. So this is our first student object, and I'm going to declare our second one on the same line using a comma. And then the second one, I want to call the parameterize constructor. So how we're going to do this is our parameterize constructor takes a first name, last name, and string, and we're going to pass string literals inside of it instead of variables, string variables. So right now, what's happening is the student one, the default constructor gets called, but on student 2, the parameterize constructor gets called. So student 1, this gets called, and student 2, this gets called. So I went ahead and passed parameters into the student 2 constructor. Now we're going to learn the conditional operator here. Our condition, so a conditional operator requires a condition. So anything you put in inside an if statement, a while statement, the condition in a for loop, etc. Okay guys, so we're returning the state of this. Now, we don't have to actually do anything here. Since this is a Boolean return type, we can just do this, right? But I want to teach you the conditional operator, and we're going to use that in a cout statement, which you may have not seen before. But essentially, what's going on behind the scenes is this, really. So this is the same thing as not including it. So I'm basically saying return true if this is true, or return false if this is false. What we're going to do though, is we're going to, instead of using this, we're going to keep this at the end, but I also want to have a message with it. So this is our cout line. Essentially, we usually put stuff like this, but we wanted to output something different based on this condition. So what we have to do is put a condition in here. So we're going to copy our initial condition, which is this. And we're going to go ahead and copy paste that there. And in this parenthesis, we're going to do this, just like that. So whatever is after the question mark is when the result of this condition is true. And everything after the colon is the result of this condition being false. Now remember, how we use a conditional operator is contingent upon what comes before it. So if a return comes before the conditional operator, which is kind of where it's used, so basically what is the return type of the method? And the method is return type bool. So technically we could put this here, it's fine, syntactically correct, but you really don't have to, because this is going to return the same thing. However, cout is not of type bool, it's type of ostream, outstream. Okay, so we're going to output a string based on this condition. So if it's true, and now I'm going to move this to the lines below. So we're going to keep that like this. And our int main, we're going to call test student, just like that. And then we're going to do a get car on this. And just to be clear, std get car. And clearly you don't have to do it, but I just want you guys to be familiar that this get car method is also in the standard namespace. And this is also to clarify everything, right? Student 1 and 2 don't have the same first name, because the result of this condition was false, because the default constructor calls first name to be the empty string, and then the second one I called it to have Anthony as a first name. Again, I'm just showing you how the test student works. You do not want to do a repetitive calculation like I'm doing here. This is just to demonstrate. So what we really want is a void. The reason we want a void is I don't want to repeat this calculation twice. I just want to output the student if it's the same first name or not. And I could do this for the following member variables. Now if we run it here, we're going to get 3 outputs. I'm testing all the member functions, and they don't have anything that are in common. I basically want to talk about overloading, specifically on methods or functions. We're going to overload the student, the test student function, and we want to pass a student into it. So basically we have the exact same thing as the previous method, but we do not declare students in here. Instead we pass them along. So I'm going to test the main student. So these 2 student objects have different first names, the same last names, and different IDs. And now what we're going to do is we're going to call our test student function, but wait, we have 2 of them now. So you're allowed to do this. Now, as you can see, we have +1 overload. If you type a comma here, you can see all of them. The second one is void, nothing. And this one takes in 2 students. So we'll pass in student 1, student 2. Just like that. Basically, like I said, different first names, different IDs, but the same last name. We're going to end off our main function with return 0.